I'm Luke Alexander, CEO of Newcore Gold. Newcore Gold is a district scale exploration company focused on Ghana. We've got our Enchi project. First thing I will highlight is that we will be making forward-looking statements, so I'd advise you to go and have a look at this on our presentation on our website. There's a number of things that differentiate Newcore from a number of other companies out there. A few of them are listed here, and I'll get into them in a little bit more detail. First off, we've got a management team who has a proven track record of shareholder success with a number of shareholder wins over the years. We are very strongly backed by institutional shareholders with a 40% holding from institutional investors. Management and insiders are very well aligned with shareholders through our 27% interest in the business. Ghana is a tier 1 jurisdiction, and I'll get into more detail on that as we go through the presentation. We've got a very good 1.4 million ounce inferred resource, which we are aggressively drilling and looking to build on. We also put out a robust PEA at the beginning of June, which underlines a very robust project. We're currently in the midst of a 90,000 meter drill program, which is the largest ever drill program on our Enchi project. And we've got a very good capital structure with no warrants, which I think speaks to the quality of the management team and the asset that we've never had to entice investors with warrants. Starting with the management team, I spent 15 years on the capital market side of the business, investment banking. 12 of those years I was in London advising major institutional investors and ASX, TSX, and London listed companies on different deals and fundraisings around the world. We've also got a very strong board with a proven track record of successful companies, as well as a very strong management team, including Greg Smith, Mal, and Dan Wilson, who is our country manager. ESG is something that's very important to us at Newcore. We feel that ultimately, when all stakeholders benefit in a project, that's the best way to push things forward. So we do try to adhere to as many of the UN Sustainable Development Goals as possible. In terms of capital structure, we've got 119 million shares outstanding. As I mentioned, no warrants, 40% institutional ownership. You can see a few of those investors here. We've got about a total of 30 institutional investors on our register. It's rare for a company of our size, call it $65 million Canadian, to have such strong institutional support. I think that really speaks to the quality of the asset and the team. We've also got very strong support from an investment banking perspective. Currently, we've got 5 tier 1 investment banks out of Toronto covering us from a research perspective, and it's great to have that kind of support. The last thing I'd mention is we're very well funded. We've currently got $13 million in the bank, so we're fully funded for the largest ever drill program on our project, which, as I mentioned, is 90,000 meters. Ghana is a tier 1 jurisdiction. It's Africa's largest gold producer. It's the 6th largest gold producer globally. It's got 4 of the top 10 gold producers operating in country. Newmont, with their expansion at Ahafo, will go to over 20% of their total global production coming from Ghana. So I think that speaks for itself in terms of what a quality jurisdiction it is to operate in. And for us, that means there's a huge amount of skilled labor in country, as well as mining services for us to draw upon. Where we're physically located, we're down in the southwest corner of Ghana. If we zoom in on that, there's 2 prolific belts that run through Ghana, the Ashanti belt, and then we're located on the Sefwi-Bibiani belt. Great neighbors along trend from us, directly to the north, 50 kilometers away. We've got Kinross's Chirano mine. It produces about 165,000 ounces a year, sits at an endowment of 5.5 million. To the north of that, we've got Asante's Bibiani mine, which has a 6.5 million ounce endowment. And then I mentioned Newmont and their Ahafo mine, which sits at 15.5 million ounces. Directly to the south of us, on the other side of the Côte d'Ivoire border, we've got the Afema asset, which is now owned by Endeavour. So needless to say, great neighbors in country along trend from us. We also are very fortunate to benefit from great infrastructure. Directly through the middle of our project, we've got got a paved road, which you can drive 100 kilometers an hour along to the town of Enchi. Enchi's got about 15,000 people, so it's got all the support services we could want for our project, as well as it means we don't have to build a camp to ultimately push this project forward. And then throughout the rest of our project, we've either got dirt or gravel roads, which take you to the different deposits. We've got a power line, which also runs along that road. So very good infrastructure for us to ultimately leverage off of on our project. Looking at the Enchi project in a little bit more detail, it's a very large land package, 216 square kilometers in size. We've to date identified 25 targets, of which we've only drilled on 6 of them, and 4 of them make up our current 1.4 million ounce resource. In terms of the economics of the project, we did put out a PEA at the beginning of June. This was really motivated to ultimately underpin the value of our company for our shareholders. We are still focused on exploration, and that's where we think we'll create the most value. But the economic study that we did put out outlined a very simple heap leach project at $1,650 gold. You've got a $212 million after-tax NPV, 42% IRR, and a lot of that is driven by the low capital intensity that you get with a heap leach project. Just under 1 million ounces of production, but again, our focus remains on exploration. We were only able to include 20,000 meters of our 90,000 meter program, so we've got another 70,000 meters of drilling, which we've partially completed, and that will release over the next number of months. So in terms of that drill program itself, it is a multi-pronged drill program. So we are focused on our existing deposit areas. We've got 4 of those areas: Boeing, Sium, Nyam, and Quachikrum. All of them remain open along strike as well as at depth. So we're going to continue to explore at all of our existing areas. We're then going back to some previously drilled areas where we've had very good success. And then lastly, we're targeting some new areas for the first time ever. Looking at our project in a little bit more detail, Boeing, Sium, Nyam, and Quachikrum make up those 4 resource areas that I talked about. As I highlighted, and as I take you through these 3D models, all of these deposits, as you can see here, remain open along strike as well as at depth. So real nice opportunity for us to continue to expand the overall resource at all of those areas. Sium is our largest, which I just highlighted, at about 725,000 ounces. Boeing is our second largest deposit. This is one of the recent holes that we just put out, hole 276. And as you can see in this cross section, very good results. And we're seeing this across all of our deposits. So in this hole here specifically, 155 meters of mineralization, including 1 gram over 103 meters with some nice high grade included in that. Boeing specifically, and when I talk about that opportunity to step out along strike and ultimately extend the overall size of the deposit, Boeing is a very good example of that. And this image here really highlights that. What you're seeing here within these pits is the pit constrained resource that we put out, which included the drilling that we did in 2020. That makes up about a 2.8 kilometer strike length. But as you can see here to the north at Boeing, we've added about 400 meters of mineralization, and to the south about 1 kilometer of mineralization. You add that to the current 1.8 kilometers, and needless to say, that adds about a 50% strike to the overall pit constrained resource that we outlined. The other thing I'd highlight is that we've done a lot of drilling to ultimately widen the overall size of the pits. This would be a great example of that in hole number 236. Here you can see that we've encountered sitting outside of the pits, which you can see here within this 3D model. We've hit 0.9 grams over 69 meters. So lengthening the overall strike of our existing deposits, as well as widening the pits, is where we think we will meaningfully add ounces to our overall resource. In terms of How we approach our exploration, I've talked about it being a multi-pronged approach. What we've got here on the right-hand side on the map is a map that shows the 25 targets that we've identified across the project. The pyramid on the left is probably the best way to describe how we systematically approach our exploration. So at the top of our pyramid, we've got those 4 deposit areas that I've talked about. Those make up that 1.4 million ounces. We're continuing to get really good results from the step-out drilling that we're doing there. Below that, we've got previously drill-tested areas. Arati is a great example of that. We've got historically 10 holes up there. We're in the process of completing an additional 15 holes up at Arati, and our goal is to ultimately move that up into the resource category over time. Below that, we've got advanced stage targets. The most notable at this stage would be Sium South, where we've just completed 3 kilometers of trenching. It's one of our largest anomalies, and we will drill Sium South for the first time ever in the next few months, with the goal of getting it into that drill tested category, and over time wrapping a resource around it and adding it to our overall global resource. Below that, another 15 or 20 targets that we are continuing to do various levels of work on. The last piece that I will talk about is the opportunity at depth. And that's something that for the first time ever, with this 90,000 meter drill program, we're really able to start drilling properly. What we're highlighting here is a long section of our project and comparing that to the Chirano mine, Kinross's Chirano mine, 50 kilometers to the north of us. And what we see within these greenstone hosted deposits is that as you start to drill deeper, you start to encounter higher grades, and these deposits really grow in size. To date, our average depth of our 1.4 million ounce resource is only down to 63 meters. About 85% of our existing resource sits within that oxide transitional category that we've outlined here. You compare that to Kinross, and it's pretty clear to see what the opportunity is for us at depth. We've started to put out some of our deeper results to date, and we've been very encouraged by some of the hits that we've had. I showed you a few of those higher grade intercepts within the wider zones in that hole 276. But here's another great example down at kind of 125 meters below surface. This is the highest grade intercept we've ever had, 95 grams over 2 meters with a halo of 0.93 grams over 5 meters and an additional 13 grams over 1 meter. Similarly, over at Nyam, we've had some very encouraging higher grade results. This hole number 45, it's one of our deepest holes drilled at Nyam to date, down at 175 meters. We've encountered 5.4 grams over 9 meters. Sitting 100 meters away in this hole number 47, which you can see in this cross section here. Again, very nice heap leach material near surface. And then as we got down to that kind of 175, 200 meter level, we've encountered 5.8 grams over 7 meters. These are the kind of results that we will be following up with additional drilling and looking to prove out more of that high grade opportunity that we've started to see across our deposits. So that multi-prong approach, step out along strike, we see that as lower risk exploration, target some new areas for the first time ever like Sium, go back to areas like Arati, and then drill this opportunity at depth. So that's really the focus for us, is to ultimately continue to aggressively drill and look to build the overall ounces across our property. So just to recap, if you look at Newcore, I mean, we're very well aligned as a management team and board through our 27% interest in the business. I think that's very important. Very strong capital structure. Rare to see the number of tier one mining dedicated investors that we've got on our share register. We have a district scale exploration opportunity on our Enchi project, and all of that exploration is underpinned by a robust PEA with very strong economics. over the next number of months, what you can expect from Newcore is lots of drill results. Over the last year, we've put results out over 3 or 4 weeks, and we'll look to continue to that. If you want to learn more, please reach out, www.newcoregold.com. We're always happy to engage with prospective and existing shareholders. Thank you very much.